My brothers and sisters in Islam, understand that zina is not a light matter. It is one of the major sins that Allah has forbidden in His book, and the Prophet warned us against it. When Allah forbids something, He does not forbid it because He wants to deprive us. Rather, He forbids it because it destroys us. Zina destroys the heart, it corrupts iman, it ruins families, it breaks societies, it removes barakah from life, it leads to darkness in the soul, and it closes the doors of guidance. Every time Allah mentions zina, He does not just say do not commit zina, He says do not come near zina. Why? Because even approaching its doors is poison. Even being near its environment is danger. Even allowing the eyes, the ears, and the heart to play with it brings ruin. And when a person commits this sin, they are not only betraying Allah's command, they are betraying their own soul, they are betraying their family, they are betraying the ummah. My brothers and sisters, zina is not a sin that only affects the one who commits it. It is a sin whose flames reach others. It destroys marriages, it separates spouses, it leaves children without security, and it spreads diseases both of the body and of the heart. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, made marriage the path of purity, dignity, and honor. He made zina the path of humiliation, disgrace, and punishment. The one who commits zina may think he enjoys pleasure for a few moments, but those few moments come with a lifetime of scars. The one who indulges in this sin may think he is satisfying a desire, but in reality he is throwing his iman into fire. When Allah commands us to stay away from zina, He is protecting us. He is protecting our chastity, our families, our future, and our akhirah. This is why He says, do not come near it, do not commit it, but do not even approach it. Do not open the doors, do not flirt with its whispers, do not step towards its path. Because zina is not sudden, it begins with small steps. It begins with the gaze, it begins with the smile, it begins with the text message, it begins with the seclusion, and before you know it, the heart is attached, the body is weak, and the sin is committed. This is why Allah, the one who created us and knows our weaknesses, said do not even come near it. My beloved brothers and sisters, reflect on the fact that zina is described as a fahisha, a shameless act, something vile and filthy. Allah has elevated the human being with honor, with dignity, with iman, with taqwa, with the ability to control desires. And zina strips a person of that honor. It strips a person of that dignity. It takes away higher modesty, the very foundation of faith. The Prophet I said that every religion has a characteristic, and the characteristic of Islam is haya. So when a person falls into zina, haya is lost. When haya is lost, faith is weakened. And when faith is weakened, everything else crumbles. This sin is so severe that the Prophet told us about the punishment of those who committed it. He saw in his night journey people burning in ovens, naked, and every time the fire burned them, it returned them again, and they were punished endlessly. And when he asked Jibril, who are they? He was told these are the people who committed zina. My brothers and sisters, if this is the punishment in the grave, what about the punishment in the hereafter? Is a few minutes of desire worth eternal punishment? Is a fleeting pleasure worth the fire of Jahannam? Do not underestimate this sin. It is not small, it is not light. Some people today try to normalize it, try to justify it, try to say it is natural. Yes, desire is natural, but Allah gave us a halal way to fulfill it. He gave us marriage. He gave us a dignified path. To reject that and to pursue desire in haram is to reject the law of Allah, to rebel against the Creator, to spit on the honor Allah gave you. Think also about the betrayal involved. Zina is betrayal of trust. A person who commits zina while married betrays his spouse, destroys their trust, shatters their heart. A person who commits zina before marriage betrays his future spouse. He stains the purity of that relationship. He plants poison in what was meant to be beautiful. It is betrayal of parents who raised their child with hopes of dignity. It is betrayal of the community which relies on its members to live with honor. And above all, it is betrayal of Allah, who gave us everything: health, strength, life, guidance. And we repay Him by disobeying in one of the worst ways. My brothers and sisters, zina is not just an individual sin. It spreads corruption in society. When zina becomes widespread, families collapse. When families collapse, society collapses. Look at nations where zina is normalized. Look at the broken families, the abandoned children, the rise of diseases, the emptiness in hearts. People search for love but find loneliness. They chase pleasure but find depression. This is what happens when zina spreads, because Allah removes barakah. He removes tranquility. He removes sakinah. A society built on zina is a society built on sand, and it will crumble. This is why our deen protects marriage and fights zina. This is why there are hudud punishments for it, because it is not a private matter. It is a public crime. It is a crime against family, against society, against faith. And this is why the believer, when he hears of zina, he trembles. When he hears of it, he seeks refuge in Allah. When he hears of it, he says, I will never go near it. Do not be deceived by shaitan who beautifies it. Do not be deceived by movies and music and social media that glamorize it. Do not be deceived by the whispers that say just once. Nobody will know. You can repent later, my brothers and sisters. Every time you commit a sin, a black dot appears on the heart. And zina is not a small dot. It is a stain that covers the heart. And unless you repent sincerely, the heart becomes sealed. And when the heart is sealed, no advice benefits, no reminder penetrates, no Quran affects. Protect your hearts from this filth, because once it enters, it is hard to remove. Remember, zina is not only with the body. The Prophet said the eyes commit zina, the ears commit zina, the tongue commits zina, and the private parts either confirm it or deny it. That means watching haram is a form of zina. Listening to haram is a form of zina. Flirting, chatting, sending messages with desire, all of this is part of zina. And Allah warned us not only from the final act, but from all its doors. This is why He said, do not come near it. Do not think only the final step is dangerous. Every step is dangerous. The Prophet gave us a way to stay safe. He said, whoever guarantees me what is between his jaws and between his legs, I will guarantee him Jannah. Control your tongue, control your private parts, and Jannah is yours. Is Jannah not worth it? Is the pleasure of Jannah eternal, endless, pure, not worth sacrificing a fleeting haram desire? My brothers and sisters, weigh it. On one side, a few minutes of haram that end with regret. On the other side, eternal bliss. Rivers of milk and honey, companions of purity, the pleasure of Allah. Which side will you choose? And think of death. Death does not wait for your desires to finish. Death can come while committing this sin. Imagine meeting Allah while in the middle of zina. Imagine the angels doth ripping the soul while the body is in that act. Imagine being resurrected on the day of judgment in that state. Is there any humiliation greater than that? The Prophet told us that every person will be resurrected in the state they died. Protect yourselves, my brothers and sisters, from such an ending. My brothers and sisters in Islam, understand the weight of this sin. Every prophet of Allah warned his people against immorality. Every scripture forbade it. Every messenger emphasized purity, because it is not just about rules, it is about protecting the very fabric of life. Zina tears that fabric apart. It opens doors of evil. It weakens the ummah. It distances us from Allah. And wallahi, the greatest punishment is not even the dunya. It is when Allah removes His love from the heart. When a person sins, Allah turns away. When a person insists on zina, Allah distances Himself. And if Allah distances Himself, who will protect you, who will guide you, who will comfort you? This is why the believer cries at the thought of zina. He does not see it as something light. He sees it as a wall between him and Allah. He sees it as a fire burning his iman. He sees it as a road leading to Jahannam. And that fear saves him. That fear keeps him strong. That fear makes him run to Allah before it is too late. My brothers and sisters in Islam, desire is a reality of human life. Allah created us with desire. He created us with inclinations. And this is not something evil by itself. It is part of our test in dunya's desire. Desire is a tool, and like every tool, it can be used in halal or haram. The problem is not that you feel desire. And the problem is when you misuse it. Shaitan comes and whispers and convinces people that because they have desire, they must act upon it, but this is not true. Allah gave you the ability to resist it. He gave you the ability to discipline it. He gave you the outlet for it, and He warned you against the forbidden. So when a person says, I cannot hold back, in reality they are giving in to the whispers of shaitan, because Allah does not burden a soul beyond its capacity. If Allah put inclination inside of you, He also gave you the strength to restrain it. So understand, my brothers and sisters, that feeling an urge is not a sin. But following it in the sinful path is the sin. My beloved brothers and sisters, there is a great difference between being tempted and acting upon temptation. Every human is tempted. Even the most righteous were tempted. Yusuf ibn Ifi was tempted. He was a young man alone, approached by the wife of Al. Aziz, doors locked, and yet he said, I seek refuge with Allah. He felt the test, he felt the pull, but he did not act upon it. That is the model for us. That is the proof that desire is not justification. If Yusuf could hold back in the most difficult situation, then what excuse do we have when Allah has given us so many ways to resist? My brothers and sisters, desire by itself is not evidence against you, it is evidence for you. Because every time you feel tempted and you say no for the sake of Allah, that is a moment of worship. That is a moment where angels write down a reward. That is a moment where you step closer to Jannah. Do not see your urges as a curse. See them as an opportunity. They are opportunities to prove to Allah that you love Him more than your lust, that you choose His command over your impulse, that you are a servant of Allah, not a slave of your desires. And realize, my brothers and sisters, that Shaitan's strongest argument is to convince people that because the desire is strong, it must be followed. But if that was true, then there would be no such thing as taqwa. If that was true, then fasting would be meaningless. If that was true, then the reward for patience would not exist. Allah praises those who restrain themselves, who resist their urges, who hold back when it is difficult. That is why Jannah is described as surrounded by hardships. Because you earned it by resisting, by sacrificing, by fighting against yourself. My brothers and sisters, understand that not every natural feeling is to be acted upon. Anger is natural, but if you act upon it and strike someone unjustly, that is haram. Hunger is natural, but if you steal food, that is haram. Similarly, desire is natural, but if you seek to satisfy it through impermissible ways, that is haram. Allah does not ask you to remove your nature. He asks you to discipline your nature. He asks you to channel it in the pure way, the lawful way, the dignified way. And that is why marriage exists. That is why fasting exists. That is why Allah gave us paths to keep the soul healthy. And do not think, my brothers and sisters, that your situation is unique. Many young people say, my desire is too strong. My test is different, my environment makes it impossible. But remember, Allah created everyone with different tests, yet He promised that no soul is burdened beyond its capacity. That means your test is within your ability. If it was beyond your ability, Allah would not hold you accountable. But the fact that He warned you, the fact that He prohibited zina, the fact that He commanded chastity is proof that you can control yourself. So never say I cannot. Say I can, but I need Allah's help. Say I can, but I must avoid the triggers. Say I can, but I will seek the halal outlet. Desire is not a justification, my brothers and sisters. It is a responsibility. It is a responsibility to guard it, to channel it, to discipline it. When you stand before Allah on the day of judgment, He will not ask you, did you feel desire? He will ask you, what did you do with it? Did you protect yourself? Did you lower your gaze? Did you fast when you could not marry? Did you seek halal solutions? Or did you run towards the forbidden and say, I could not resist? My brothers and sisters, reflect on the young man who came to the Prophet and asked for permission to commit zina. The companions were shocked, but the Prophet did not rebuke him harshly. He asked him, would you like it for your mother? Would you like it for your daughter? Would you like it for your sister? The young man said no. The Prophet said, and people also do not like it for their mothers, their daughters, their sisters. And then he placed his hand on his chest and made dua that Allah purify his heart. That young man came with desire, but the Prophet reminded him that the desire is not a justification, it is a test of empathy, a test of self-control, a test of respect for others. So my brothers and sisters, when you feel the urge, remember that every other believer around you also feels it. You are not alone. You are not different. What matters is how you respond. If you feed it with haram, it grows stronger and enslaves you. If you starve it by resisting for Allah's sake, it weakens and you gain control. And that is the difference between being a slave of Allah and being a slave of your nafs. My beloved brothers and sisters, let us not deceive ourselves with excuses. The culture around us glorifies following every desire. But Islam came to dignify the human being by teaching us restraint. If every human followed every desire, we would be worse than animals. Animals follow desire without restraint, but Allah gave us intellect. He gave us revelation. He gave us guidance. That is what lifts us above animals. To abandon restraint is to lower ourselves beneath them. So guard yourselves, my brothers and sisters, from the lie that says you cannot resist. You can resist, you can fight. You can win, and every time you win, Allah raises your rank. Every time you win, the angels celebrate. Every time you win, Jannah gets closer. And every time you fail, remember, do not justify it. Repent, return, seek forgiveness, and try again. But never say, my desire forced me. Desire never forces, it only invites. It is your choice to accept or to reject. And with Allah's help, you can always reject what is forbidden. My brothers and sisters in Islam, the heart is the king of the body, and if the heart is corrupted, the entire body is corrupted. Guarding the soul is the key to preserving Iman, and one of the greatest gates to the inner self is the gaze. The Prophet told us that the eyes are the arrows of shaitan. When the sight looks at what is forbidden, that arrow pierces the core and leaves poison, and if the look is repeated, the poison spreads until the soul is sick and weak. This is why Allah commanded, tell the believing men to lower their gaze and guard their modesty, and tell the believing women to lower their gaze and guard their modesty. Allah mentioned lowering the gaze before guarding chastity, because the eyes are the beginning of the path. If the sight is pure, the inner self remains pure. And if the inner self is pure, the body remains pure. But if the eyes are left unchecked, the soul will be corrupted. And when the soul is corrupted, everything follows. My brothers and sisters, Zina does not begin suddenly. It begins with a single look, a glance that lingers, a look that plants a seed in the heart. That seed grows into desire. Desire grows into thought. Thought grows into plan. And the plan grows into action. All of this began with a single look. That is why Allah, in His wisdom, commanded us to lower our gaze. He did not say simply guard your private parts. He began with the eyes, because the eyes are the door to the heart, and the heart controls the limbs. If you want to cut off zina from the root, you must cut it from the eyes. My brothers and sisters, when the eyes look at what is sinful, the mind begins to replay that image again and again. The nafs clings to it, the shaitan beautifies it, and the person feels trapped by it. And what was once a fleeting glance becomes a permanent wound in the soul. This is why lowering the gaze is not a minor act, it is a shield, a fortress that guards your iman from invasion. The believer who lowers his gaze feels light in his heart, he feels sweetness in his salah, he feels clarity in his mind, because his heart is not poisoned by haram images. But the one who constantly allows his eyes to wander towards what is impermissible feels restless, feels distracted in prayer, feels heavy in dhikr, because his soul is stained. My brothers and sisters, the modern world has made the test of the gaze more difficult than ever. Billboards, phones, advertisements, movies, social media, everything is designed to capture the eyes and poison the heart. We live in a time where indecency is not hidden, it is displayed proudly. And yet Allah's command remains the same: lower your gaze. You cannot control what is shown around you, but you can control your look. You cannot control the environment, but you can control your response. When something impermissible appears before you, turn away, remind yourself Allah is watching, and protect your soul from the arrow of shaitan. Remember, my brothers and sisters, that the first glance is forgiven if it is accidental, but the second glance is against you. The Prophet told his cousin Alimi, your do not follow a glance with another, for the first is for you, but the second is against you. This means you cannot stop the first arrow from being fired at you in this world of temptation, but you can block it by turning away. It is when you allow it to continue, when you choose to look again, that you open the door for shaitan. Lowering the gaze is not only for men, it is for women as well. All addressed both in the Quran, because both hearts are vulnerable. Both men and women must guard their sight, because both can fall into temptation. And when both sides neglect this command, society is corrupted. The culture of staring, of objectifying, of treating people as images and not as souls, this is the culture that destroys haya. Islam came to restore haya, to restore dignity, to restore purity. My brothers and sisters, understand that lowering the gaze is an act of worship. It is not just about avoiding sin. It is about gaining reward. Every time you turn your sight away for the sake of Allah, Allah writes a good deed. Every time you protect your eyes, Allah protects your heart. Every time you sacrifice a glance, Allah grants you light in your soul. The Prophet said that whoever leaves something for the sake of Allah, Allah will replace it with something better. Leave the haram glance, and then Allah will replace it with sweetness in salah, tranquility in the heart, blessings in your life, and in the hereafter, the ultimate reward, seeing the face of Allah. Reflect on this, my brothers and sisters. The one who guards his eyes from haram in this world will be rewarded by Allah with looking at his noble face in the next world. What greater exchange is there? A fleeting glance here in exchange for eternal vision of the Lord of the worlds. Is there any trade more profitable than this? But the one who wastes his gaze on the forbidden risks being deprived of that greatest blessing. And know, my brothers and sisters, that protecting modesty is tied directly to the eyes. When the eyes are disciplined, modesty flourishes. When the eyes are wild, modesty dies. And modesty is not just a behavior. It is a shield of Iman. When haya is lost, faith is weakened. That is why the Prophet said, if you feel no shame, do as you wish. Meaning, once haya is gone, every sin becomes easy. And one of the fastest ways to lose haya is through the eyes. Do not think, my brothers and sisters, that only the final act of zina is dangerous. The gaze is zina of the eyes. The Prophet told us clearly, the eyes commit zina, the ears commit zina, the tongue commits zina, and the private parts confirm it or deny it. That means the path of zina begins long before the act. Watching haram content, staring at what is impermissible, listening to indecent speech, all of this is zina in different forms. Protecting the eyes is protecting yourself from the slippery slope that ends with disaster. Consider how many marriages have been destroyed because one spouse could not guard their eyes. Consider how many young people are addicted to images on screens because they did not lower their sight the first time. Consider how many people lost the sweetness of Iman because they kept feeding their hearts with poison through their eyes. This is not a small issue, my brothers and sisters. This is a root cause of much corruption in our lives. When Allah commands something, it is for our benefit. He commands lowering the gaze not to deprive us of pleasure, but to give us real pleasure, lasting pleasure, pure pleasure. The glance at haram brings guilt, emptiness, dissatisfaction. The glance at haram never satisfies, it only demands more. It enslaves the soul. But lowering the gaze brings freedom, it brings dignity, it brings control over your nafs. And with that control comes peace. My brothers and sisters, remind yourselves constantly that Allah is watching. Every look is recorded. Every glance is written. Every time you lower your eyes for His sake, He sees it. Every time you betray your eyes, He sees it. On the day of judgment, the eyes themselves will speak. Allah said, on that day, their hearing, their sight, and their skin will testify against them for what they used to do. Imagine your own eyes testifying against you, saying, yes, he used me to look at haram. Yes, she used me to watch the impermissible. What excuse will we have then? Protect your eyes today so that they do not testify against you tomorrow. My brothers and sisters in Islam, to distance oneself from the temptations that lead to zina requires both knowledge and action. Urge alone is not the problem. The environment and habits that nurture that inclination are. Avoiding situations, places, and people that trigger sinful thoughts is essential. The Prophet said, a person is upon the religion of his close friend, so choose companions who remind you of Allah, not those who lead you to trial. Surround yourself with people of piety, people of modesty, people who strengthen your iman. Do not sit alone with the opposite gender in private, for that is the doorway to desire. Do not linger in places that promote immorality. Do not browse content that feeds lust. Do not entertain thoughts that the heart knows are impermissible. Create a life that shields your soul, a life that nurtures your faith, a life where the haram has no foothold. Seek help from Allah in every step, make dua constantly, and remember that reliance upon Him is stronger than reliance upon your own willpower. If the environment is corrupted, change it. If the habit is destructive, break it. If the trial is strong, seek protection through action, not neglect. My brothers and sisters, understand that desire does not operate in a vacuum. It grows stronger when the heart is idle, when the mind is distracted, when the body is left unchecked. Engage yourself in beneficial work, in worship, in study, in service to others, in acts of charity, in recitation of the Quran, in dhikr. Keep your heart occupied with the love of Allah, and the urges that once dominated your thoughts will weaken. The Prophet said, the heart dies in which Allah is forgotten. So remember Allah constantly, and your heart will be shielded from the whispers of shaitan, and guard your company carefully. A friend who tempts you even subtly to look at something impermissible, to flirt, to joke inappropriately, to normalize indecency, is a dangerous friend. The environment in which you live shapes the soul. A house filled with indecent media, with inappropriate behavior, with lax morality, becomes a training ground for sin. Conversely, a home filled with Quran, with Taqwa, with righteous companions, becomes a fortress against desire. Build such environments, my brothers and sisters, for your children, for your families, for yourselves. Do not underestimate the power of small habits. Browsing forbidden content on a phone and lingering on immodest images, entertaining flirtatious thoughts. These may seem minor, but they are the seeds of Zina. The Prophet warned us that sins are like a seed. If nurtured, they grow into trees whose branches cover the heavens. Start with small prevention, uninstall apps, avoid certain websites, reduce screen time, block what leads to temptation. Protecting your environment protects your heart. Seek accountability. Share your struggle with a trustworthy mentor, a knowledgeable elder, a pious friend. Islam is not meant to be practiced in isolation. Those who face temptation often fall alone, but those who seek guidance, share their struggle, and make dua with sincere support find strength. Ask Allah for help in the morning, in the evening, before every step that may lead to the forbidden. He will never leave you helpless. My brothers and sisters, fast regularly. Fasting is not only an act of worship, it is a training for the soul. The Prophet said, fasting is a shield. When you feel desire rising, when temptation calls, the fast restrains your body and strengthens your soul. The heart learns patience, the mind learns discipline, and the soul becomes resilient. Combine fasting with prayers, with dhikr, with dua, and the body and heart are fortified. Avoid seclusion with the opposite gender. Avoid situations where temptation can flourish, and if unavoidable, take measures to safeguard the heart. If you must work or study with the opposite gender, ensure proper boundaries, modest attire, respectful speech and professionalism. Never allow informal intimacy that blurs the line, because the first step into temptation is subtle. The Prophet said, a man, a woman alone are the third of shaitan. Recognize the danger and act accordingly. My brothers and sisters, recognize that action alone is not enough. The heart must also be aligned with intention. Guard your intention. Constantly remind yourself why you avoid the forbidden, why you lower your gaze, why you choose companionship carefully, why you flee from temptation. It is for Allah, for your dignity, for your akhirah. When the heart is sincere, the body follows. When the soul is steadfast, the habits strengthen naturally. Use your time wisely. Idle time is the playground of shaitan. Fill your day with productive, righteous, and beneficial activity. Pray on time, read Quran, engage in learning, help others, perform acts of charity, participate in community service. Keep the mind and heart occupied. When the soul is busy with good, there is no space for temptation. The Prophet said, the strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah than the weak. And one of the strengths is guarding oneself from desires and temptation. Create safeguards in technology. Install filters, block harmful content, avoid unmonitored social media use. The Prophet said, prevent the smallest sin and Allah will protect you from greater ones. A small preventative measure today can protect you from a lifetime of regret. Use your devices with discipline. Use your screens as tools for knowledge, not portals to haram. Be aware of triggers. Every person has situations that trigger desire. Specific thoughts, media or locations, identify them. Recognize the patterns, avoid them, replace them with beneficial alternatives. The Prophet taught us to flee from temptation as one flees from a lion. Do not test your heart unnecessarily. Remove the spark before it becomes a fire. Seek repentance constantly. No matter your past mistakes, turn to Allah sincerely. Repentance wipes away sin, strengthens the heart, and renews your resolve. Make a habit of istighfar. Call upon Allah during moments of weakness. And remember that His mercy is greater than any sin. When the heart is cleansed, the mind is sharper and the body becomes easier to control. My brothers and sisters, remember, practical action is the companion of knowledge. Know the dangers, know the commands of Allah, and pair that knowledge with action. Do not rely on desire or willpower alone. Change your environment, change your habits, seek good company, protect your gaze, fill your heart with dhikr, and Allah will strengthen you in ways you cannot imagine. Actions prevent temptation, guide the heart, and train the soul. Strengthening the soul through taqwa, salah, fasting, and constant remembrance of Allah is the foundation to resist zina. Taqwa is consciousness of Allah, awareness of His presence, and the fear of His displeasure. When the heart is filled with taqwa, urges are restrained, actions are disciplined, and the inner self becomes vigilant. Salah is the anchor of the believer. It reminds the heart of its purpose, disciplines the body, and purifies the mind. Fasting, as the Prophet said, is a shield. It trains the spirit, controls the appetite, and strengthens resistance to inclinations. Dhikr, remembrance of Allah, keeps the heart alive, fills the mind with light, and removes the darkness that Shaitan uses to whisper. Every act of worship fortifies the soul, builds resilience, and reduces vulnerability to temptation. Without these pillars, the inner self is weak, the body is easily tempted, and the spirit drifts into sin. My brothers and sisters, understand that taqwa is not a mere feeling, it is a way of life. When a person is conscious of Allah, he constantly evaluates his actions, guards his thoughts, and disciplines his desires. A heart filled with taqwa hesitates before committing sin, refrains from actions that displease Allah, and seeks His pleasure in every choice. Taqwa illuminates the heart, purifies the soul, and protects against the seductive whispers of Shaitan. The one who fears Allah in private and public will naturally resist zina, because the awareness of Allah's watchful presence transforms every glance, every thought, every action. Salah is the foundation that binds the believer to Allah. The Prophet said the first matter for which a person will be brought to account on the day of judgment is his salah. The one who protects it will prosper, and the one who abandons it will fail. Salah disciplines the limbs, focuses the mind, and strengthens the heart against desires. When a person prays consistently, he remembers Allah at critical moments, and the power of the nafs is diminished. The heart grows soft with obedience, and the temptation of zina becomes less appealing. Daily salah is not just a ritual, it is a spiritual training that strengthens the inner self, polishes the heart, and builds resilience. Fasting is the ultimate teacher of self-restraint. The Prophet has said fasting is a shield. It restrains the eyes, the tongue, and the body from committing forbidden acts. When a person fasts, he experiences hunger, thirst, and desire, yet he submits to the command of Allah. This discipline carries over into other areas of life. The one who restrains the stomach, restrains the eyes, restrains the heart, and restrains the body from illicit actions. Fasting trains the soul to obey Allah even when desire is strong, and this discipline becomes a natural protection against zina. The nafs learns patience, the heart learns resilience, and the spirit grows powerful. Dhikr, remembrance of Allah, keeps the heart alive. A heart that is engaged in the names of Allah, in His praise, in supplication, is protected. Shaitan cannot whisper effectively to one whose heart is occupied with Allah. The Prophet said, "The example of the one who remembers Allah and the one who does not is like the living and the dead." Remembrance illuminates the heart, clears the mind, and fills the soul with light that drives away darkness. A believer who engages in constant dhikr finds that desire loses its grip and thoughts of zina are repelled. Every act of worship reinforces the soul. Charity, fasting, prayer, Quran recitation, remembrance, patience, kindness, and humility, all these acts build spiritual muscle. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, spiritual exercise strengthens the heart. A strong heart resists temptation. A disciplined soul rejects sin. A vigilant spirit repels the whisperings of Shaitan. Neglect of worship leaves the heart weak, the body uncontrolled, and the soul vulnerable. Daily commitment to acts of obedience is not optional. It is essential for resisting desires that lead to zina. Invest in these practices consistently. The Prophet did not engage in worship sporadically. He was constant. His heart was always connected to Allah. The one who emulates him will find their inner self fortified, their urges disciplined, and their life protected. Invest time every day in salah, in dhikr, in fasting, in charity, in study of the Quran. The repetition and constancy strengthen the soul and build a natural immunity against desire. Each act is a brick in the fortress that guards your heart. Understand that spiritual strength is cumulative. A single act of worship strengthens the soul. Multiple acts compound that strength. The believer who prays, fasts, and remembers Allah consistently becomes resilient. His heart recognizes sin. His mind rejects temptation. His body obeys guidance. The one who neglects worship experiences weakness. Temptation overwhelms him, desire dominates him, and the path to zina becomes easier. Guarding the soul requires ongoing effort, not occasional bursts. Seek Allah's help constantly. Strength comes from Him. Taqwa, salah, fasting, and dhikr are tools, but the ultimate protection is from Allah. Make dua frequently. Ask Allah to strengthen your heart, to protect your gaze, to discipline your body, to purify your thoughts, and to shield you from the whispers of Shaitan. The Prophet taught that the dua of a believer at any moment of need is never rejected. Turn to Allah sincerely, and He will fortify you. Surround yourself with reminders. Be in the company of those who are constant in worship. Study the Quran, attend circles of knowledge, participate in halakas, listen to lectures on morality, and engage with righteous people. Environment and companionship reinforce spiritual strength. Just as a person weak in knowledge can be misled, a person weak in spiritual practice can be overcome by desire. Protect your soul with both personal worship and communal support. My brothers and sisters, remember, the struggle against zina is primarily a struggle of the heart. The body follows the heart. If the inner self is strong, desires are disciplined, and the mind is focused, the body obeys. Without inner strength, all external measures become weak. Strengthen your heart daily, cultivate taqwa constantly, engage in salah with devotion, fast with sincerity, and remember Allah without neglect. These pillars fortify the soul, protect against temptation, and build a life of dignity and obedience.